Hi people, welcome to another video on the channel, and today it is 5 players I think Forest should sign this summer. I did this video concept last year, you all seemed to enjoy it then, so I thought I would do it now. Slightly different to the transfer roundups. These are sort of, it's a mix of players that we've had links with, it's also a mix of players that we've not really had any links with as well. So it's just who I think would suit Forest in the positions that we are in need of. So yeah, I'm going to waste no more of your time and get straight into it. But before we do, make sure you slap a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and if you never want to miss a video, turn on the notifications bell. And without further ado, let's go. The first player is Maximilian Bier, I think is how you pronounce his surname. He had a very good season out at Hoffenheim, last season, scoring 16 goals in 35 games and getting 3 assists as well. It's his first real goal scoring season, it's his major breakout season. Now listen, we're going to have to fight off some fierce competition here. We've got Bayer Leverkusen, Brentford, Man United and Liverpool who are all reportedly interested. Listen, if he wants regular football, I think it'd be us, Brentford or Leverkusen that you should go to. If he doesn't really want to move countries, which is understandable at just 21, then I can see him go to Leverkusen. But if he wants, a chance to play with right at the top, but you have to wait a couple of years, maybe go out on loan, then Man United or Liverpool is his option. It depends where his ambitions are and where he feels comfortable. Don't get me wrong, he's 21, I don't really think too many 21-year-olds are going to want to move to a completely, new country, to be fair. So, you've got to bear that in mind. It's the case of, does he want to play, regularly, in the best league in the world, but, you have to leave, your family and friends behind, etc. So, it's gonna be stiff competition. He's also going to cost a fair bit. He's had a breakout season for Hoffenheim. His stock is going to be incredibly high, and rightfully so. So he's going to cost about 30 million. I think if we can get him for a little bit less than that, then I think, we've got a good deal here, especially with the 70 million it looks like we could be bringing in for Murillo. I think that could be, a really, he could be a very good signing because he's a completely different dynamic to, to Awoniyi and Wood. Awoniyi and Wood are, big, strong, almost sort of like target men, Awoniyi's got a decent burst of pace. But, Bier's very different, sort of. It would sort of turn, your defenders and try and run in behind. Is that sort of mould and style of player. Whereas Wood's sort of like, win the ball in the air. Awoniyi's, trying to, outmuscle, defenders and then running behind. That's sort of, his mould. Whereas Bier is very different to both of those. He's a bit more slick, I'd probably say is the right word to describe it. Running in behind. This is obviously based on compilation videos. Take this, with, a handful of salt, to be fair, because I've not watched a single Hoffenheim game this season. I'm not going to lie. Anyone has watched a Hoffenheim game this season, that supports Forest. So we've got to bear that in mind. But based on your compilation videos, based on, his numbers, where he scores from, he looks like he's going to try and, turn defenders, running behind, use his pace, that sort of stuff. A slight similar to sort of what a Sam Surridge was, sort of thing, a little bit more nimble in the penalty area, that sort of thing, whereas, Awoniyi and Wood are, very different players to that, so it's good to have a different dynamic, and I do think if we can get him at a cut price, maybe, slightly south of 25 million, then I think that will be a very, very solid deal. But it's just the level and the prestigious level as well of clubs that are interested as well. It's going to be very, very difficult, to sort of fend that off. It really depends where he's at as well. There's not been too much said, who he's more likely to go. It's just a case of who the clubs are that are lined up to sign him. But I do think he will be a very, very good signing, and he's a completely different dynamic. And I think a long-term striker is something that we need to be looking at in the next, if not this window, then the next summer window is, we need to be looking at a new long-term striker. Because Awoniyi's only fit for about 15 games a season, and Wood's in his 30s now. So you want someone a little bit more long-term as well. The next player is David Caro. Now, with Murillo's departure pretty much inevitable, it's just a case of how much we're going to get and where he's going to go at this point. Listen, Caro was out on loan at second half of last season at Olympiacos, and how the cookie does tend to normally crumble. If Olympiacos can't get a player, then Marinakis will try and bring him in at Forest. So, yeah, he did help them, win the Conference League last season, which, is a very, very good achievement. There's been a lot of defenders spoken about, and I think he's slightly different, I would say, to Murillo. I think the fella that I spoke about in the last transfer video, Vanderson, will be a more similar sort of player to Murillo, whereas Caro will be a little bit similar to Niakate based on, what I've seen, which was the Conference League final and and compilations on YouTube, okay? I don't watch a lot of Greek football, so got to bear that in mind. He's currently at Porto at the moment. He's going to cost, I'd say, around 15 to 20 million. He made 35 appearances over, the course of at Porto and at Olympiacos, because he did play a bit at Porto before signing for Olympiacos. So yeah, he's going to be a little bit more cheaper than Vanderson, who I spoke about in the last transfer video. However, he'll be a different sort of player. So I think he'll be a very, very good signing, because I do think the defence needs a bit of a restructure, because it was definitely a weak point last season. It felt like defensively we had a lot of good individuals, but not really a balance or like a team in defence. So I do think the defence does need a bit of a reshuffle. We've already had a few leave, on free transfers already. So I think the defence does need a reshuffle. So I think more than one defender coming in would not be a bad thing at all, depending on what sort of setup Nuno wants to go with next season. Is it the 5? Is it the 4? I think it's the 5 especially, and we need to bring in more than one centre half. If he is sticking with the 4, then maybe bring in just 1 or 2. But I do think Caro, I think we are linked with him, so it is a realistic transfer. I also think he would be very, very solid, maybe partnered with someone else like that Vanderson as well, or just someone who's a bit more on the ball, because he looks like a bit more of a robust sort of stopper player, not your so-called tiki-taka, passing it out from the back in modern day centre half. The next player is Jonathan Rowe. Now, I'm very much aware we have not been linked to him really at all. However, I do think he will be a very good signing, because it looks like we are in the market to add another winger out wide, because, Nuno did try to make Origi work on the wing. However, it was utterly pants. It was a terrible idea. The few occasions where he did play on the wing, he was extremely wasteful. So I think it's good to have another backup winger option, and also I think Rowe's got the ability to break into the first team. It's just Elanga and Hudson-Odoi did have 2 very good seasons, so it's going to be difficult to, outpip them to their, preferred positions. However, he had an exceptional season for Norwich. 38 games, 13 goals and 4 assists over the course of the Championship season. It's a very brutal, very demanding league, as Forest fans will know. So, to pull those sorts of numbers is very good, especially at 21, helping them get into the playoffs. They couldn't obviously progress from there, but he did very well, and there's going to be a lot of clubs looking at him. We're going to have to fend off a lot of interest if we are going to get him. There isn't any realistic rumours at the moment. However, I think he would be a very good signing, and one I think we could get a decent price, because Norwich aren't in the Premier League. They haven't got promoted. They can't really demand too highly if they do need to sell. So I think within the region of about 12 million quid, I think we could maybe, budge Norwich there. However, it is really dependent on does he, where he wants to go, because there is going to be a lot of clubs interested in him as well. The next player could be a player that could be playing for us very, very soon. Carlos Mguel. I spoke about him in my first transfer video. He's a 6'8" goalkeeper who's apparently agreed terms for about 4 million euros, which, based on how highly he seemed to be regarded, could be a bit of a steal. I don't really want to jump the gun just yet, because I won't lie, I did jump the gun a little bit with Matt Turner, and respectfully, he was pretty pants. His distribution was awful. He had hologram hands. Respectfully, he was absolutely awful for us, and he looks like he could be going out to the MLS now. So, looking at Mguel though, listen, he's a very tall fella. Like, let's not beat around the bush here. He's 6'8". He's a tall bloke. So the Brazilian season does work different. As of the time making these notes, he had made 12 appearances, keeping 7 clean sheets. That could have changed. If it has changed, I've corrected myself on screen right now, but I don't think it has. He also plays for Murillo's former club out in Brazil, and has played with Murillo. So obviously, that's going to play a part. Murillo's been at the club a year. He could definitely help, sort of wingmanning him to hopefully come to Forest. Listen, it's 4 million euros. We've already got Sells. So if he is not very good, one, it's not going to be a massive loss, because it's 4 million euros, which is like 3.5 million quid. And we've also got Sells, who has proved himself, as a very solid Premier League goalkeeper if we need him. So yeah, in terms of, his, distribution, all that, I've not seen too much of that, because, again, don't watch much Brazilian football, and I'm basing this off compilations. His overall shot stopping, again, you can make any goalkeeper on a compilation look good, so I'm not going to read into it too much. However, based on the compilations, he doesn't look too bad, so we'll have to wait and see. He's a very tall fella, as I've said a few times, so should be good, coming for crosses and all that as well, and he'll be linking up with other Brazilians that we've got in the team. Murilo at the moment, and Danilo as well. And I imagine we're going to bring in some other, Brazilian players as well with the other links that we have had. And the final player is Reiss Nelson. I spoke about him in my last transfer video. He's finally looking to leave Arsenal. Just 24 appearances last season. Only 1 Premier League start. 1 goal and 3 assists across all competitions. Listen, he could be similar to Elanga, fell out of favour, at Man United. Could come in. He's a similar sort of player to Elanga. Good burst of pace. So, I think he could, he's not done terribly in terms of numbers considering how many minutes he has got. So, based on that, he definitely could come in and do well. However, 20 million Arsenal want, I think that is quite a bit. We were complaining about 12 to 15 million for Elanga. 20 million for Nelson is, quite a hefty sum. West Ham and Crystal Palace are also reportedly interested. So, we're going to have to fend off that competition as well. So, it depends how desperately we want him. So, we can't really afford to, lowball the price tag too much. Otherwise, one of those 2 teams will probably get him. However, I do think, with the right coaching, and the right, amount of minutes, I do think he could become good. And, similar to how Elanga was, got 9 goals last season. So, we will have to wait and see if we can get him a little bit south of 15, maybe in the 12, 13 million pound region, then I do think he could be, a very good signing, and we are definitely looking for a backup winger option, and it's also potentially, weakening one of Crystal Palace or West Ham. The only risks that are really with Crystal Palace is they've got some very saleable assets who they could maybe offer a trade for as well. So you have to bear that in mind as well when offering. However, 20 million for someone who's not played loads for Arsenal is quite a hefty sum. So we'll have to wait and see if there's maybe a cheaper alternative elsewhere. Again, it's a bit of a waiting game at the moment. But I do think he will be a very good signing. And if we can pull the deal off, I think it will be fantastic. Thank you all for watching this video, 5 players who I think Forest should sign this season. So yeah, thank you massively for watching. Make sure you slap a like on the video, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you all very soon. Goodbye.